Hey, Kittch. How's it going? It's Friday before Christmas. There's Hanukkah going on, and we're in the middle of a blizzard here in Michigan. But I'm so glad you're here in my kitchen. My name is Kristen Solorzano. I am the recipe developer and content creator behind What's the Freaking Recipe, where I share semi homemade recipes for busy people like yourself. Okay, part two of the tamales. I'm gonna give a quick summary of what we did on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, we made carne con chile filling. Is what that is it's a simmered chuck roast that was cut into 2-inch pieces and then slowly simmered for an hour and a half in salt, peppercorns, bay leaves, onion, and garlic until it was nice and tender. And then you joined me in the stream and we made the salsa roja for the carne con chile. And once we made that, then we shredded up our beef and then we tossed it in with our chili. And then I said goodbye. And I let that simmer for another 30 minutes until it got even more tender, if you can believe it. And now we're into part two where we're going to make the masa dough and form our tamales. And I'll show you how to set them in the steamer so then they can steam for about an hour. So let's do this, Kittch, right? I'm not gonna lie. It's the kids had a snow day today and there's a blizzard outside, so I poured myself a little coquito. I mean, why not? Happy holidays. All right, now for real, we're gonna get into it. I just wanted to show you quickly what our carne con chile looks like. So in part one, I kind of talked about how I like to split this up into 2 days just because I like the result much better because the technique is a little similar to making soup dumplings in that when our beef chills or cools a little bit, all of that salsa and the rendered beef fats and broth just kind of congeals to the tender beef. And then when it gets steamed in the tamales, those luscious juices just go into the tamales, right? And they don't go all over the hands. And it is a little bit, I find it a little bit cleaner, clean as you can get when you're folding tamales, doing the process that way. But then also you split it up over a couple of days and it's a little bit easier to take on. Cool. All right. So let's start making our masa dough. I'll let you know of a few things that I have going on. I just got to set that somewhere. So ahead of time, I went ahead and I sorted through corn husks. So I do recommend going to your local Mexican store as grocery store, as I mentioned in part one, and finding the tamale husks. And what you want to do is you want to check it for freshness, right? Because some of those things have been sitting for a little while and got extra dry. But in that drying process, as it's been sitting, mold can form. So that's not the freshest husks. And if you do get any of those in your batch, it's bound to happen. It's normal. Okay, don't freak out. But if there's like a ton of it and all of them are ruined, then you'll have to get a new one. But just toss those aside, throw them out. We don't want to use them. Okay. So I do have these soaking in warm water after I sorted through all of our tamale husks. And I'm just going to let that chill. Okay. Because we're going to start making our masa dough. But this is the first step. Get your husks soaking in warm water. That way they're nice and pliable when you do go to form your tamales. All right. Second part. Do you remember when we saved all of that flavorful broth that our chuck roast simmered in? Yeah, of course you did, because you watched part one, right? Okay, so I have that currently simmering over like medium heat till it's nice and hot, okay? So we're gonna keep that going. I did skim off the fat as best as I could. And we're gonna add that to our masa dough. But first, making the masa dough starts off reminiscent of making flour tortillas or tortillas in general. So we're gonna start off with some tamale. The brand is called Masa. You can also find like artisanal ground masa. If you really want to go that route, it is more expensive. This is more affordable, I will say, but it's also more popular, it's more available than you were to, you know, if you were to get like a super artisan one. And please do search out the tamale one, because what that is, it's a finer ground corn than you would find from a like a corn tortilla mix. Okay, so do search out the tamale version. And here I have 4 cups of the masa corn flour, which I'm going to add to the bowl of a stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, you could use a big ass bowl and a hand mixer. Okay. All right. And then 1 tablespoon of baking powder. So baking powder is a leavening agent, and this is going to help our tamales get nice and tender and puffy. Okay. And then about a tablespoon and a half of sea salt. I'm using pink sea salt because why not? All right. So I'm going to stir this around in, you know what? I'm just going to use a whisk so I can show y'all and not have to go. My cord for my stand mixer is a little short. So there we go. That way it just gets all nice and combined. All right. There we go. And next comes shortening. You can absolutely use lard if that's your jam. I do find that using Crisco or shortening is a little bit easier on your stomach. That may just be me personally or my family personally, but I do find I like it better. So use what you want. You could use a cup of lard or a cup of shortening. Okay, and I'm just gonna cut it a little bit and add it to our bowl. So kind of similar to like biscuit making or tortillas. We're gonna let this go in the stand mixer for a little bit until you get like a little bit of pea-sized pieces of dough. But once we add our hot broth to the mixture, it's gonna melt all of the shortening. That's why we want it hot. You could also use water if you forgot to save it, or store-bought broth is totally fine too. Or even if you want to do like a better than bouillon situation with beef, that would work also. Do not fret. All right, so I have my trusty stand mixer here. Kind of camera's blocking it a little bit. I'm gonna plug it in. But I am gonna say hello. If you're comfortable, you can come on up to the chef's table, or if you have any questions, go ahead and type a comment. I'll try and take a look as we're mixing and all that good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna move my bowl to the stand mixer. All right, and I'll tell you what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna turn this on full blast, right? Because then you'll be wearing it. So just go slow. Nice and slow, okay? I'm excited you're here. Thanks for coming. Bring it up just slightly more, not too much more. Definitely don't want to wear it. I'll bring you over here. See how it started to clump a little bit together? That's what we want. So I'm going to turn that off. There we go. And I'm going to measure, let me just double check my measurements here. 2 2/3 cup of our hot beef broth. I have my ladle this time. Check me out. There we go. And what I also have is some leftover of our salsa. which we're also going to add to our broth, and our masa dough, just to kind of amp up that flavor. Alrighty. So in total, you want about 3 cups of broth salsa mixture. So as far as the masa flour goes, I always do 1 cup less of the masa flour. So we're using 4 cups of masa flour, so we want 3 cups of broth. Not exactly a 2-to-1 ratio, but you know what I mean. All right. And then we'll also check the texture as well if we need to add more or less. That's why we do it in a slow stream and not all at once. Because depending on where you live and weather and science. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time. That's good for now. I'm gonna let this go slightly, bring it up, and slow. Slow, slow, slow. I'm not gonna lie, I can smell the heat. I can smell the heat from our salsa. You could also melt the shortening or the lard ahead of time. I do like doing it this way so that it really gets incorporated. There's different ways of doing it. There we go. Looking good. All right, we get our last bit here, and then I'm gonna let it go. Just get a little for like 4 or 5 minutes on a higher speed. There we go. It's pretty forgiving though, I will say that. All right, we're gonna crank it up. But let me, you know, if you bake, you always gotta scrape. That's not really a saying, but you know what I mean. You gotta scrape it down to make sure that you got everything out of the bowl. There we go. Oh man, this smells so good. All right, we're gonna let this go for about like 4 minutes. That's too much. We want it like a nice medium speed, and I'm actually gonna set the timer. Look at me setting the timer. Clean up our area a little bit, because guess what we're doing next? We're gonna form the tamale. It was off camera, but I totally just spilled the water everywhere all over the counter. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're just gonna scrape it real quick. Just a quick little scrape. Just a quick little scrape. And a bump of the camera. There we go. Looking good, looking good. All right, keep it going. We got like another 2 minutes, okay? Hang in there. I'm glad you came though. This is like one of our family's favorite things to make during the holidays, and it doesn't feel like Christmas if we don't have tamales. And it's awesome because my daughter, who's 8 now, and my son, who's 5, they're showing an interest in helping. So we all just, after this stream, I'm gonna make a couple of tamales, and then we're all just gonna sit at the kitchen table and form the tamales and then steam them for later. Definitely one of those things that you want to ask for help for. It's a nice bonding experience. Get some drinks, some mocktails, have some snacks to hold you over till the tamales are ready. It's a good time. It's almost as important as cookies during the holidays. You know what I mean? Let's see how much we have. A minute 30. We're almost there. Start getting our other stuff ready. I'm gonna wash my hands. One minute. We are also gonna just take a tiny little taste of the masa dough just to check it for the seasonings, because we do want the masa dough to be flavorful as well, okay? The filling can't be the whole show. It can't carry everybody. You wanna make sure that the masa dough is also nice and seasoned. You see how it's kind of pulling away from the bowl, almost like a pizza dough would? That's how you know it's ready. So we're gonna stop it. All right. Very nice. All right, let's take that down. I am just gonna take like a little smidge just to make sure that it's okay. That it's nice and seasoned. Yeah, we're there. It really doesn't take much because there was so much flavor and seasonings in that salsa roja, as well as our beef broth with all of those aromatics. Simple, but let me just move this out of the way because I'm gonna smack it. And I don't want to do that. There we go. All right, we're done with you. We're done with you. We're done with you. Let me just bring this back up a little bit so I have a little bit more. Y'all could see a little bit better, right? All right, so all I'm doing now is just getting the dough off the hook because we want every little morsel that we can, right? Yes. Alrighty. Let's do this. So we are bringing this to Christmas Eve, so I am gonna wear gloves because I like having a little bit more control over the dough, pressing it than I would with like a spatula or something. So we're ready. All right. So to form the tamales, you take some of your dried, you're rehydrated. Now they're rehydrated. They were dried before. Your rehydrated corn husk. I'm trying to get, there we go. That's a good shot. All right. And where's my spoon? There it is. I'm going to take about 2 ounces of the masa dough. And what we're going to do is we're going to press it in the corn husk up at the top because we do want to leave some room to fold the bottom of it over. And then same thing on the sides. We don't want to go all the way to the sides. We just want to go like, give it a little bit of a border, okay? And then same thing for the very top. We don't want to go to the very top. We want to give it a little bit of a border and try and make it as even as you can. I've also seen seen videos of the abuelas just with like those paint scrapers, just going to town. They were pros. I like using my hands. If you want to go the other route, more power to you. I support your dreams. All right, so I'm going to stuff. There we go. The filling, and you give it a little bit more. This is also why we want to wear gloves, right? So we bring the filling, bring this to the middle, and then this to the middle to meet it. Fold it over like that. Pinch the bottom, bring it to the center, and then pinch the top. There you go. And then you want to put this down like that, like that. All right, I'm going to do a couple more. We'll go through it again. You could also go the extra mile and tie it together. Sometimes that's necessary. If you have like too small of corn husks, then you have to put two together and it's easier to kind of tie them like that. I'm gonna add our masa, just as we talked through. Here we go. Try and get it as flat as you can in the husk, or even, I should say, not exactly flat. Here we go. We have our filling. You see all that congealed salsa and beef broth? That's just going to go all into the filling. It's going to be so amazing. I think I may have did too much there though. It takes a little bit to get into a groove. I will say that. Gotta be honest. There we go. Pinch the bottoms. Pinch the top. Here we go. And then I'll do one more and then I'll show you how to get your steamer basket ready. And I'm gonna say goodbye so my family and I can finish up these tamales. So the tamales will steam for about 45 to 55 minutes. And once that's done, you want them to just turn off the heat, and then you want them to just sit covered for 5 to 10 minutes. That way they just kind of release and do their thing and rest, just like you were to rest like bread when you bake it. You don't want to cut too much into it too soon. Excuse me. Same thing with meat. You just kind of want it to rest, let those flavors just chill. And then you can dig into it. There we go. Bring it to the center, fold it, pinch, fold it again. There we go. All right, so we have a couple going. I'm going to show you how to set it up for the steamer. Take this off. And I will say, you can get these gloves. I got these gloves at the dollar store. You don't have to go anywhere crazy to go find them. They're pretty readily available. All right. So I have a steamer basket here. Excuse me, I need some water. All right. I have a steamer basket here. If you don't have a steamer basket, you can also use like a steamer insert. Or I've also seen people put some 3 aluminum foil balls that have been crumpled up in the bottom of a pot, and then put a plate on top, and then put your tamales on top of that. As long as, just got to make sure that the plate can actually fit into the pot. Kind of like a MacGyver steamer, and that works fine as well. But what I like to do is I like to line the steamer basket on the bottom with some of our husks. Usually it's the husks that kind of are pretty small. Let's see if I have another one like that. I don't want to use all my big ones. That's all right. For demo purposes. There we go. And when you're stacking them, you do want to do it up like this. That way they can cook a little evenly. And you want the, we're going to call it the tail. You want the tail to be inside against each other. That way they don't come unraveled. Okay. And then it just, once you have, this recipe makes 40, about 40 tamales. So you'll fit all 40 in here and they'll all just kind of rest on each other. And then once that's ready, you put more, maybe like 2 or 3 tamale husks on top, and then you cover it with the lid. You have the water on a boil, and you, once it comes up to a boil, you turn it down to low, and you let those steam for about 45 to 55 minutes. And then you take it off the heat, let the tamales rest, and then you can enjoy them. They're so good. Put some salsa on top. I have some great salsa recipes here on Kittch. You could just search for my name, Kristen Solorzano, and they'll pop right up. Or you could search for salsa verde or a restaurant style salsa. I got you. It'll be so good on these carne con chile tamales. Okay, that's it, Kittch. I wish I had made some ahead of time, but I didn't want to be, I didn't want to waste food. And I wanted to be realistic as to what my family can finish. So 40 tamales is plenty for us. And I'm just so glad that you were able to come into my kitchen and learn how to make tamales. And I'm wishing you and your families a safe and happy, prosperous new year and safe, happy holidays. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me. You can follow me here on Kittch. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can follow me here on Kittch so you're in the know of all my upcoming streams and have access to free exclusive recipes that aren't on my social channels. And but you can also follow me on social, right? I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at WTFIN recipe. And I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. Enjoy your holidays. I'll see you next week. Bye, Kittch.